Hi guys! Today I'm gonna show you how to knit this full legs Raglan dog sweater. Let's get started. Raglan sweater, okay? As you can see, the front leg, Raglan increasing. And the big difference from, other full leg sweater is hind leg. Hind leg, I use the Raglan increasing as well. Okay, so please check my description box for all the detail. I include pretty much everything there. One of my viewers asked me to knit this sweater and she gave me the related video and I took a look 30 seconds and I thought it was easier. But I had little struggle because of the structure of the sweater in the video was quite easy because the front piece was longer than mine. But I really want front piece shorter because they have to pee. Okay. This is actually one of my, a full leg sweater. This is simple, knit all the way, and then add in the leg, right? And because of the, opening is big, so I add rib to make it smaller. But this Raglan sweater for the hind, once you finish the front piece, I had to start increasing for hind leg. Okay? And that part I struggle. But anyway, I figured it out. So please watch my video until the end. And now I'm going to show you where to measure and what to do with it. You have to do the math. First, around the neck. So my dog's neck was 10, but I add 2 inches because I want him to wear comfortably. Okay, so 12 inch. And the neck length, 3 inch, mine, okay? And after the neck rib, okay, you have to measure from the bottom of the neck until the armpit, 3 inch. Please make sure you have to measure your dog, okay? And now from the armpit until end of their front piece. For me, 5 inch. The detail is 3 inch and 2 inch, 2 inch rib. So, 5 inch for me. Okay. And one more thing, the right here, maybe it's easier. Okay. 5 inch, 3 inch for stockinette stitch and 2 inch for rib. And now length from the front bottom to the back bottom, and another 3 for me. Okay, so grab your dog and measure what I actually ask you to do. Okay, and with those measurement you have to find out the cast on number and the rows you want to knit and make a plan. Again, if you are having trouble to make a plan, please leave your comment. Okay, so let's move on to math part. Open up my math gauge template. I just measure my dog size, right? Based on that measurement, I have to find out cast on number, stuff like that, right? So if you have my math gauge template, you don't have to worry about, right? You just knit the swatch and count stitch and row count, then put the number here. However, if you don't have this, 2 options. One, you do the math manually. just the basic, the ratio math, or you can buy this template. There's a link in my description box. It's only $7 Canadian. Okay. Anyway, you can, think about that. So let's figure it out. Okay. First of all, you have to find out your cast on number, right? So let's put, my swatch information. Number 4, your gauge, my gauge. Okay. Width 4-inch. If you're using, centimeter, you can put the 10 centimeter. I'm using inches, so I put 4-inch by 4-inch, and my swatch gauge is 21 stitches within 4-inch and 29 rows within 4-inch. Okay, so this is my knitting tension. And again, my dog's neck is 10 inches, but I want him to wear the sweater comfortably, especially around the neck, so I add 2 inches. So it's going to be 12 inches to start. You know what I'm saying? So the width, 12 inches. So I put 12 here, enter, and stitch should be 63 stitch count. Okay? So now I want you to move on to section 23. I want you to pick the number with multiple of 12. So I am going to put the number here, 12 here. And look for the number close to 63, which is this one, right? I want you to pick the number with multiple of 12. So which means number 60 or number 72. And I pick 72. This, I always pick bigger number just in case. You know what I'm saying? So I pick 72. 72 is my cast on number. Now, I want to find out row count from the height measurement. Do you remember I want to knit 3 inches height for the neck rib? So, which is right here, 3. 21.75, but there's no such a, stitch count 0.75 in knitting, right? So either 21 or 22. And I want to, pick the number, even number. So 22. Okay. If I want to knit 3 inches, I have to knit 22 rows. Okay. And I am going to find out if it's 1 inch, 7. Okay. 7.25. If it's 2 inch, 14. Okay. So 1 inch plus 2 inch is 3 inch and has to be 22. So this is what I'm going to do. If I want to knit 1 inch, it's going to be 8 rows. And if it's 2 inch that I want to knit, it's going to be 14 rows. And 3 inch should be 22 rows. That makes sense. Okay, you have to remember this numbers. So whenever you do the math, you should figure it out. Well, depend on your dog. So it doesn't really matter, but you should know how many rows within 1 inch. And then, you just have to add it up. Okay, so let's move on to knitting. Okay, cast on, I made 72 with 3.5 millimeter needle, one size smaller, or your choice with multiple of 12. I actually made 73 instead of the 72 because I am going to lose one stitch here, slide one stitch, and then pass the stitch one behind over. I lost one stitch. So now I have 72 stitches. And start one by one ribbon, which is repeat of knit one and purl one. You just have to repeat. Okay? Again, 3 inches that I wanted, so I did 22 rows. There we go. Now I'm going to change the needle to one size bigger. Okay? And I'm gonna knit one round and add in markers. And here is how you do it. The whole stitch count divided by 6. Mine, 72 divided by 6 equal 12. Okay, so 12 is my base number. According to my base number, I'm gonna divide by 4 parts. Okay, the top part is dog's front piece. Okay, from that side. And bottom part will be dog's back piece. Okay, so for the front, you have 2 sleeves and 1 chest. From there, sleeve, chest, and sleeve. And this is the begin marker. Okay, first base number times 1, add marker, base number time, add marker, and do the same thing. Base number times 1 for the front piece. And back piece will be rest, which is actually base number times 3. Okay, that's why I had to divide by 6. Okay, so add in the marker like that. Okay, having said that, okay, if you don't like the, a division, you can of course adjust the number if you want. Okay, depend on the dog's shape. But this is basic. Okay, so let's do that a little bit. You can follow my written instruction. Okay, so I'm not gonna worry about that. So this is the start. So I need 12, which is base number times 1, and then add marker. So I recommend you to put the temporary marker before you do this, so you don't really have to count stitches while you're knitting. Okay, so one more thing I want to mention, if you want to adjust the stitch count, like, okay, I have a Frenchy bulldog and they have really big chests, sure, go ahead. This is the time you should adjust the numbers, because all the dog has different shape, even though same breed. I have a quite big Yorkie. Okay, his maximum weight was 11 pounds, something like that. So it's really up to your dog. Okay, so adjust however you like. Okay, and before I move on to the increasing part, as you can see, the chest part is not increasing for me. So I will increase sleeves and back, not chest section. But it's up to you too. If you want to increase chest section, you go ahead. But I'm telling you, I only increase 2 sleeves and back piece. That's all. Okay? So increasing. Row number 1. Knit 1 and then make one left because it's left side of the marker. Okay. Make sure, the running thread shifting towards the left and knit back loop. This is make one left. And knit until one last stitch before the next marker. So I increase inside of the sleeves and inside of the back, not the, chest part. Okay, so there you go. So right side of the marker, so I am going to make one right. Okay. Then slide the marker. Now I'm in the chest section. So again, I'm not increasing. And I am going to put clip-on marker. So every time I see this red marker, chest, so do not increase. Something like that. Otherwise, sometimes I forget and I increase, So do whatever you want to do, okay? And once you knit this chest section, the other side of the sleeve, so you increase, okay? Which is knit one, then left side of the marker, make one left. Okay, one more thing. This, upper body part, I actually go so fast, okay? If you want to watch step-by-step slow tutorial, I leave the link in the description box. So you can actually watch other, step-by-step video, okay? So make one right just before you pass the, marker, which is left side of the front leg. And now back. So back, I am going to increase. So same. Increase, then knit all the way to the other side of the marker, which is begin marker. Sometimes you forget because begin marker, doesn't sometimes count as Raglan marker. But this one, Raglan marker and begin marker. So you have to increase just before the begin marker. Okay, so make one right. So this is increasing row number 1 and increasing row number 2 and 3 all knit. Okay? And you repeat from increasing row number 1 to row number 3 as many as you want, but you have to knit until the sleeve reaches under dog's armpit. For me, I repeat it 7 times, which is 21, 22 rows, about 3 inches. All right? Okay, and probably some people thinking increasing every 3 rows is enough. It's up to your dog. If you don't think it's enough, increase every other row, or you can increase the chest part. But when I separate the sleeves, you have to connect front and back. Okay, so you have a chance to add more stitches. Okay, so you kind of have to make a plan ahead. Okay, within 3 inch, how many stitches I'm going to increase, here and there, and is it adjustable or not, stuff like that. And if you are having the trouble making a plan, let me know. Or you can watch step-by-step Raglan sweater tutorial. Okay, so let's move on. I'm still increasing, but it's now time to have leash opening. So obviously, back of the dog's sweater. So you kind of have to count from, each side and make sure the leash opening has to be in the center of the back. And the where and when, it's up to your dog's harness. Okay, so after I knit inch, I'm going to have the, leash opening, which is 1-row buttonhole technique. So remove the marker. I have 10 stitches in between those yellow, marker. Okay, that's what I'm going to, bind off. Okay, so yarn front, slip 1 purlwise, and yarn back, then slip 1 purlwise again, and PSSO. PSSO is pass slip stitch over. Again, slip 1 purlwise and PSSO. Okay, so you have to do 10 times. Okay, this is 3, 4, PSSO, 5. So it's binding off. 6, 7, 8, and last stitch 9. But I only bind off 9 because the one on the right needle, that's the one I have to bind off. So remove the other side of the marker, and one more time you have to do it. And the stitch now on the right needle, that's belong to the back stitch. So transfer back. There you go. So now you have kind of opening. You know what I'm saying? And now create the hole. Okay? So you turn the work and you're facing to wrong side now. Okay? And you put the needle in between, okay, first and second. So yarn, keep the yarn back like that, and put the needle into first and second and knit 1. Then transfer that stitch onto left needle, whichever, yeah. Then put the needle into the first and second. So add in the new cast like that. And how many stitches you have to add? 11 this time. So I bind off 10 and I'm creating 11 new casts. So you have to create 1 extra than more than bind off. Okay, so if you bind off 6, you have to create 7, something like that. Okay, so I am going to create 11 new cast. Okay, there we go. It's a little bit tricky, but just take your time. And after I create the 11 new cast, I'm gonna turn the work again. So back to right side, and I'm on the same row still. I'm not finishing, 1 row, right? That's why this is 1 row buttonhole technique. Okay, so why I have to actually create 1 extra stitch, because when I connect back, I'm gonna lose 1 stitch, just like connection at the beginning, same concept. Okay, so I'm gonna lose 1 stitch. That's why I create 1 extra. Okay, Now turn the work and let's finish it, which means connect it back. Okay, so I am going to lose one stitch right away to bind off. So yarn back and one slip purlwise and PSSO. Okay, so the last stitch on right needle is belong to the body part. So transfer back and I gotta knit that one again. Okay, so this is it. You just create the leash opening with one row buttonhole technique. Okay, and after that, keep knitting. Again, I was in the middle of the increasing, so I gotta work on that too. So there we go. I kept knitting, and again, I repeated 7 times of row number 1 to row number 3, and this is long enough and big enough for the sleeve. Also, even though I separate the sleeve, the front and back is big enough with new cast on. Okay, so first of all, you have to transfer the sleeve stitch. So I am going to use the this new tube thing, but probably you don't have it, so use the scrap yarn to transfer all the sleeve stitch on. Okay, there we go. This tube thing, so easy. Okay, if you want to buy it, I put the link down, in the description box. This is big time saver. Anyway, so when I transfer, take the tube off from the needle and tie a knot, just like, scrap yarn. Okay, amazing. I love this rubber tube. Anyway, so I transfer. Now you are going to connect back and front, and I'm adding the new cast. I add 9 cast. You can add more or less if you want. And now I am going to make new cast, but a little bit different than usual. 2 wrap around your digital finger, and there we go. 1, 2. It's not just a hook on. It's still a little bit loose, but this way much easier to knit next row. So it's up to you, regular way or not regular way. Anyway, I add 9 cast, odd number, but there's a reason. So if you want, you can add odd number. Okay. After this, no more increasing. So this is the last chance you have to make sweater bigger. You know what I'm saying? So make sure, measure your dog around the chest and count the stitch count. Then make sure it's gonna be big enough or not. Okay? And this is how I know. Just put the sweater on your dog if you're knitting for your dog. Okay? So the length for sleeve, not enough. I need to work few more rows. But the size is good enough. Okay? As long as I, add more new cast. All right? So just put the sweater on your dog. All right? So now, as you can see, I separate the sleeve and add new cast. Okay? Then keep knitting, right? So now you have to think from under armpit to finish line for front. I already told you at the very beginning, I am going to knit 5 inches. And the detail of 5 inches are 3 inches of stockinette stitch and 2-inch of 1x1 ribbon, so it won't curl up. Okay, so 5-inch, 3-inch stockinette stitch, and 2-inch of 1x1 ribbon. And I already find out the raw count, the 22 rows for stockinette stitch and 14 rows for ribbon. By the way, all these numbers are my sweater. Your sweater may be different number. Okay, so after the sleeve separation, I need another 3-inch of stockinette stitch. Now I'm adding the 2-inch of 1x1 ribbon. And now you have to think a couple things. Before I talk about it, why I'm adding the rib right there, okay? Because if it's stockinette there, it's gonna curl up, right? So that's the number one reason, okay? But the rest of the body is still stockinette stitch, just the front piece. And another thing you have to think is the leg, hind leg, where you want to start. So the front piece is big enough and hind leg should be cover most of the dog's leg, right? So because of the ribbon, it shrink for front, right? So I'm gonna actually move 3 stitch away for each side. So that's actually big enough. So, you know, he or she can pee without the making mess, right? And that way you can cover most of his leg as well. Okay, let me be clear one more time why you have to think about the hind leg right now. As you can see, after the ribbon finished, hind leg increasing starts. This is the why, okay? Because within hind legs, I want to add ribbon, okay? So once you finish front, increase, which means hind leg starts, okay? And hind leg, maybe, you know, within front leg somewhere, you should start. So you can cover most of the hind leg, okay? So now I am going to knit, but again, those within those 2 green marker would be 1x1 ribbon, but I want to start with purl and end with purl. However, that stitch count is now 18, so I can't finish with purl. So I have to adjust. I have to, you know, purl 2 together here to decrease 1 stitch. So it's gonna be a multiple of 2 plus 1, which means you can start with purl and end with purl. Okay, don't start with the knit. Well, you can, but you know, it doesn't make sense. Okay, it does make sense if you start and end with purl, because rest of them are stockinette stitch. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so you just keep knitting again. How many rows? 14 rows, but I only needed it 13 rows. And on the 14th row, I am going to bind off and start increasing for hind legs. Okay, so now you have to add markers for hind legs. I took 12 stitches each side. Why 12? Because same as front leg. I started with my base number 12. Do you remember? That's why. And now I'm going to tell you two things. First, okay, my target stitch count for hind leg. Pretty much same as front, okay? The front leg start with 12 and I increase 14 stitches and I add 9 new casts. So total of 37. So I want to keep that number for hind leg as well. However, okay, one more thing. For hind leg, I am going to increase every other row. Okay, for front, every 3 rows. Now I am going to increase every other rows, which means increasing much faster. So from now on, it's a little bit tricky. So please watch my video carefully, until you fully understand. So let's start. Increasing kicks in. Okay, so put the begin marker. All right, this is the middle of the right side of the hind leg. So the way increase is the same. Okay, so knit until last stitch before the marker, and this is right side of the marker, so make one right, easy. Okay, and knit one and slide the mark. Well, okay, remove the marker, and now bind off for the front piece. Okay, bind off. Because I just finished, I knit 13 row of 1 by 1 ribbon. So that's enough. You have to bind off, finish it. So starting increase at the same time of binding off for front piece, okay? But the right side of the hind leg, I only increase one side because the begin marker was in the middle, okay? So you gotta watch here carefully. After that, it's easy, okay? I am still knitting in round. After this row, okay, you're going to knit in flat, okay? So keep binding off, and I'm gonna skip, right here because it's important. So you have to see through it, okay? So just binding off. And by the way, when you hit the marker, okay, you need to bind one more stitch to go, okay? Right here. The one stitch on the right, that needs to go, okay? So bind off. And the last one belong to, rest of the body. So just keep knitting. So, okay, right. So increasing for this side of the leg, right? I remove the marker so you kind of get confused, but you have to increase. This is increasing row number 1. So now knit until the next marker, okay? And make one right. So the left hind leg, I increase both sides, okay, at the same time, but not the right hind legs. It's a little bit tricky right now, but I understand that, okay? And I put the marker back on and then knit until the other side, okay, right here. So this red marker is for the leg, right? So remove. I'm gonna actually change to marker easier and knit one and then make one left. Okay, so now the right hind legs increasing complete. Then knit until the begin marker. This is it. Okay, no more knitting in round. And now, okay, Again, no stitch on the tummy. So I am going to knit in flat, but what are you going to do those few stitch on left? Yes, transfer to the right needle and cut the end tail, then start all over. So increasing row number 2, okay, all purl this time, okay, all purl. And again, after the front piece, I want to add 3-inch for back piece. Do you remember? So while I'm knitting, increasing for hind, this is the detail, okay? 8 rows of stockinette stitch and 14 rows for 1x1 ribbon. And for the hind leg, you keep increasing, okay? Row number 1 increasing, row number 2 all purl, okay? And rest of the back piece, 8 rows of stockinette stitch and 14 rows of 1x1 ribbon. Okay, so hind leg increasing, increase every other row. So only repeat of 2 rows. Right side increasing, wrong side not increasing. And I'm gonna start with wrong side, okay? Because I just increased. And here comes, I knit 8 rows. So now I'm gonna start making rib for the back piece, okay? Again, for hind leg, you have to increase still. And the length of rib, it's up to you, okay? 2-inch, 1-inch, 3-inch. Anyway, this is right side, so I have to increase, make one left. Just imagine you have a, marker there, okay? If you get confused. And knit until last 1 stitch, same as, every other increasing, right? So knit until 1 stitch. By the way, maybe you can hear banging sound because, there's little renovation out there. Sorry if you can hear it. Okay, right here, make one right, increasing. Again, my hind leg target stitch count is 37, around there. And now starting the rib, start with purl and end with purl. And if you need to adjust, because the stitch count should be multiple of 2 plus 1, another word, odd number, then you can start and end with purl, okay? So just keep knitting and meet you whenever I finish ribbon, okay? So there you go. It's done. It's really hard to see because 1x1 ribbon, but I just finished 1x1 ribbon. Okay, so the back piece is long enough, but not enough stitches for the hind leg. Okay, I am going to knit in round soon after I bind off for the back piece. And when I connect, I don't really have to add more, new cast. I want to make it smaller. So now let's bind off for the back piece. Okay, so I'm on the wrong side. It doesn't really matter, you can bind off on wrong side, right? So let's do that. By the way, after you bind off the back piece, which means you're still working on the, leg, but now you have to knit separately. You know what I'm saying? So one leg at a time. So now binding off for the back piece. So which means I'm gonna finish on left side or right side, or it doesn't really matter. Okay, so wherever attach the yarn, that's where I'm going to start. And the other side of the leg, I'm gonna keep it. You know, there you go. The tube again, or scrap yarn. This tube is so good. I put the tube into, the needle and just, pull slightly, gently. That's it. There we go. Oh my God, this is so wonderful. Amazing product. Anyway, so keep it. Okay. By the way, I count the stitch count for the hind leg. I had 34. And I decide I'm going to increase one more time. Okay? 36. You can actually increase more. Okay? And after I reach the stitch count 36 stitches total, I am going to connect both ends. And now I want to work on in round. Okay? So whenever you connect, you have to connect on right side. Okay? So increase. And I would recommend you to knit in round after the bind off of the back piece. That's more kind of makes sense, you know? So if you don't want to, increase, you don't have to. But again, my target stitch count is 37, same as, front piece. And I don't really want to add too many new cast when I connect. So, this is all good for me, okay? If you don't want to increase, just keep knitting until you finish binding off for the back piece. That's all, okay? So here comes and make one right. Then don't turn the work, because now I am going to work in round, okay, which means only right side. So I add 2 new cast. Why not 1? Because my target stitch count was 37. No. I need to add 2 because I want to make even number. Okay, so if you want to add more, you go ahead. But this connection part should be smaller, because when you put the sweater on, a dog's leg, if that part is quite bigger, I think it's going to be loose. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, now I am going to add few more rows until your desired length, and then add in the rib, 1 by 1 rib. That's it. Okay, and I already did. Okay, and obviously you have to, make a note how many rows you did, because you have other side of the leg. Anyway, I'm showing you the stretchy cast off, which is actually with the tapestry needle. Okay, don't worry, it's easy repeat. Okay, the repeat of purl 2 together with tapestry needle, and do not drop the stitch off, and knit the first stitch, then drop off. That's it. Or you can actually use one size bigger needle to bind off, just a regular way, whichever easier for you. Okay, there we go, it's done. And I already did the other side, Easy, right? Same. And now let's finish the front sleeve. And I'm gonna show you just the connection part because rest of them are all same, right? I add one marker, one before the last original stitch. And now I am going to start from that side, kind of orange marker side, and knitting up, okay? And right after the last original stitch, there are loose running thread, 2, okay? I'm gonna actually knit up around there, extra 2 stitch, okay? Grab the, stitch and running thread like that. Make it 2. Make sure you don't actually make big hole. And the other running thread, okay? Same thing. Grab other stitch like that and then knit up. So those 2 are the extra knit up. And after that, I am going to knit up every new cast. I add 9 new cast, okay? But I am going to knit up 10 instead of 9. That's because I'm knitting up between new cast. So there is one extra space. So 9 plus 1 and 10. Okay, and in the center of the new cast, I add marker. So I am going to knit another 5. Okay, so 1, 2, okay, 3, 4. Then before picking up the 5, I am going to add 1 marker. Okay, just and 5. And then 2 extra knit up. Okay, so this is the 3rd extra with the loose running thread. Okay, and this is 4th. There you go. Then knit until that marker. This is a little bit hard, but just take your time, okay? Just knit until that red, orange, or whatever, the marker. And there's a reason why I knit up, 2 extra stitch each side, because around that area, it's going to be huge gap if you don't knit up, okay? So I knit up and then I will decrease. With the last original and first extra SSK. And then second extra and first knit up, knit 2 together. So to minimize the big gap, okay, around the sleeve, knit up extra and decrease those extra in next row. Okay, that's the best way to close or minimize the big gap. So pass the begin marker and next marker means okay, extra decreasing kicks in. Okay, so the last new cast and the 3rd extra SSK, same as the other side. Slip, slip, knit. Okay, and then the 4th extra and first original knit 2 together. There you go. That's all. And after this, just knit until your desired length. Add rib, then bind off. That's all. Okay. It's maybe a little bit harder to understand, especially the hind leg. If so, please do not hesitate to ask me. Okay? Leave the comment below. It's easy knitting, but making plan was a little bit harder. But once you understand fully, it's not hard. Okay? So, enjoy knitting. Bye for now.